Ask the chairman if he's going to buy some cookies from you guys.
All right. The September 19, 2016 meeting of the Arundel County Council is now in session. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Peruski is going to start us off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask that everyone bow their heads. We seek blessings on the task before us this evening. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We ask this in the Lord's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Peruski. Mr. Walker, I believe, want to introduce some special guests to lead us in the pledge today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Girl Scout Troop 2189, mostly from the Nantucket area, which is actually mostly Mr. Peruski's area, but they're here to help us lead the pledge this evening. So, ladies, if you'll come forward to the mic and get us started. Wait till everybody's crowded around. When you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent job. Thank you, ladies.
Nice job, ladies. Mr. Grasso, I believe you'd like to present a citation.
I don't believe my young lady is here. Possibly she is, or isn't. Miss Lindsay? Not here. She was supposed to come down, so I'm going to hold this in case something happened, and I guess we'll catch her at the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Grasso. Madam Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The chairman of the Ethics Commission has asked that those present review the Ethics Commission information in the foyer of these chambers. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, speakers should contact the Ethics Commission in the Heritage Office Complex on Riva Road.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I do see we have two speakers that have signed up for invitation to audience. I'll call them up, Teresa Raffig and Scott Hawthorth. I'm sure I butchered that name pretty good. I apologize for that. If there's anyone else wishing to speak on items not appearing on the agenda, I ask you to please come forward as well. Keep your remarks to 2 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Rafiq. I live at 1171 Green Holly Drive in Cape St. Clair. Thank you for hearing me this evening. I understand that you passed a law that somewhat restricts the use of pesticides at county parks. I appreciate that, and thank you for taking action on that matter. However, I was recently at the main playground at Quiet Waters Park, and I noticed a sign indicating that the groundskeepers would be spraying pesticides at the playground in order to control weeds. Using pesticides at a playground is troubling to me because I have young children who crawl, climb, tumble, run, and play in this space. They breathe deeply and they put their fingers in their mouths. Young bodies and brains are especially vulnerable to the toxicity of these pesticides, even if exposure levels are low. I would like to ask the Council to consider why this pesticide use is necessary and whether safer alternatives may be found to this practice of pesticide use on the playgrounds of our county parks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Trumbo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. I'm aware of that situation, and it was brought to my attention last week as well. And I actually worked furiously with Ms. Tate. I have a draft bill that, despite Ms. Tate's and mine's best effort, was not quite ready for prime time tonight. But I intend to introduce this bill at the next council meeting, which would prohibit pesticides on playgrounds. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Peruka.
Thank you. I just, since this is in my district, I wanted to just make contact with you or ask you if you've talked to folks at Public Works or. Well, I have your address and everything. I just wanted to tell you that I'd be happy to talk to you about the problem.
Certainly.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Grasso.
Throw me as a co-sponsor there, Mr. Trumbauer.
Scott, I'm not going to butcher your last name again.
Hi, my name is Scott Howarth. I live at 835 Sunny Chapel Road in Odenton. Good evening, Councilman. My name is Scott Howarth, and I'm the president of the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. Don't worry, tonight I'm not here to speak about the budget or public policy or to address any contentious issues. Instead, I've come on behalf of the student leaders of our community to invite you all to a party. On October 20th, the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils is hosting a dinner for elected officials so we can all have a nice sit-down conversation about the direction of our community and what young people can expect from our local policymaking bodies in the next year. The event is on October 20th at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation's Philip Merrill Center from 6 to 8:30 p.m. This event is designed to replace our old lobbying day. We found that over time the event just got too big and that students were interested in having a more meaningful conversation with all of you about local issues, but also just about regular things that connect us as human beings. We have also invited the Arundel delegation of the Maryland General Assembly and a few other local figures. Since it's being hosted by teenagers, it should be a bit more fun than other legislative dinners you guys attend this year. We're really hoping that you will join us, and invitations have already been dropped in your mailboxes. I'll see you there, and thank you for letting me speak on behalf of the students of Anne Arundel County.
Thank you. All right, is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda?
Oh, wait, we have one more speaker.
Oh,
Ms. Johnson.
if anyone that would like to speak, please come forward. We have 6 seats up front. If you're not sitting up front, I'm going to assume nobody else wants to.
I have copies for each of you. Can I hand those
Sure.
over?
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Liza Rowe. I live at 929 Wind Whisper Lane in Annapolis, Maryland. And I'm here today to talk about tiny houses on wheels. I'm hoping to get one. I'm 24 years old, and I find that it's the only way that I can potentially see myself living in a house and being a homeowner, which, as my parents know, is a dream of many. So for whatever reason, tiny houses, well, they're on the up and coming, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with the concept, but it's just like a small house, except it's on wheels. So you can move it, and my generation, millennials, are all about it. And I would really like to add it to the zoning code. Right now, it's technically not illegal, but it's not legal, making it illegal, because with it on wheels, it's not recognized to be built to standard code, simply because it's put on wheels. And I'd like to have it recognized as its own category, to have tiny houses specifically legal in the RA districts, so that I can park it in places with large fields. You'll see on these PowerPoints here, there's photos of several of them. They're all meant to be aesthetically pleasing. There's several options as far as what the codes should be, what the specifications are for a tiny house, and what makes it different from an RV and a mobile home. And that is my goal. I also go into affordability analysis. There's a lot of numbers in there that might interest you as far as benefiting our county in general. And I think it would be a good step in the right direction. I really think that tiny houses are the next big thing.
Very cool.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you. Mr. Trumbo?
Very quickly, thank you. First of all, ma'am, Wind Whisper Lane, I think, is in City of Annapolis. Are you in the city? Okay. So their zoning code would prevail over that residence. But regardless, I can tell you, the Director of Planning and Zoning, Mr. Tom, who's in the audience, and I worked out a memo on where tiny houses are currently permitted under our zoning code. I'm certainly interested in the tiny house movement, and I'd be happy to fill you in on that. If you leave your contact information with my office, I'll get in touch. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Bruschi?
Yeah, just to follow up too, Indian Creek School also was building tiny houses for the community. If you'd like that information, I just want to pass along. Seems like you're interested in that. I'd be more than to give you that information as well. So, thank you.
Great. Ms. Johnson? Ms. Johnson?
No, it's on. Julie Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. I've come before you in the past to talk about cell phones and the potential for, do they cause medical or health harms and hazards and risks? And you know that there is extensive research that's been done. You know that the standards in this country are extremely low in terms of the standards are, well, can you imagine saying that someone is a regular cell phone user if they make 1 half-hour call per week for 6 months? Do you know anyone who uses a cell phone that little? Clearly, with that kind of a population, you wouldn't anticipate, finding any injury, harm, or damage, or even really any risk. There is a lot of new research that's out there, although it's not all new. microwave radiation or radio frequency radiation, or simply RF, standing for radio frequency, was a really important thing in World War II because radar was a really important new secret weapon. And the sailors, Marines, airmen, were using radar as an important part of the military operations. So there's been a lot of exposure and a lot of opportunity to be concerned. But I could tell you a whole lot. I just finished reading this book, and in order to understand it, I had to do a whole lot of additional reading. Just in the 15 seconds I have left, did you know your cell phone has information in it that tells you how far away you should keep that phone from your head or from all of your body parts? It does, and that's important because the phone companies are abdicating all responsibility.
Please summarize.
So, cell phones should be used with care. The Environmental Health Trust is one of the organizations, but you are working on legislation about where you put the cell phone towers.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
And cell phone towers are even worse.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. At this time, I would like to introduce Resolution 6316, which is not on our agenda. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 6316.
Resolution appointing a county auditor.
All right, thank you, Madam Auditor. This is a resolution just simply appointing the county auditor for the last, I believe, 6 months or so since Ms. Sutherland left the county. We've asked our current interim auditor to step up. She's been in county government for quite some time, and this was just the official nod that she's gotten done her 6-month interview and done a fantastic job. And with this resolution, I would like to appoint Jody Dickinson as the full-time auditor, no longer acting. Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Perutka?
Aye.
Mr. Trumbauer?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Grasso?
Aye.
Mr. Pruski?
Aye.
Mr. Fink?
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution 6316 is passed.
Congratulations, Madam Auditor. Is there any other item any council member would like to place on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolutions, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
So moved.
Madam Secretary, please read the title. Please read the minutes of September 6th.
The meeting was called to order by Chairman Derek Fink at 7 p.m. and opened with the invocation given by Mr. Fink, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
May I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes of September 6, 2016 stand approved as read. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of the bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill 6716, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, supplementary appropriations, police department, grants, special revenue fund, partnership for children, youth and family, special fund, Idlewild Special Community Benefit District. Bill 6816, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, supplementary appropriations, video lottery facility, local impact, grant, special revenue fund. Bill 6916, an ordinance concerning property taxes, capital facility connection charges and deferrals, stormwater remediation fees, interest and penalties. Bill 7016, an ordinance concerning lease agreement 122 North Langley Road, Glen Burnie, Maryland. Bill 7116, an ordinance concerning Article 1 general provisions.
Please read the titles of the resolutions to be introduced this evening.
Resolution 6116, resolution confirming the appointment of an Anne Arundel County resident to serve on the Spending Affordability Committee. Resolution 6216, resolution urging County Executive Stephen R. Shue and Superintendent Terry Kokolas of the Department of Detention Facilities to decline to enter into any agreement with the federal government for the purpose of housing individuals undergoing civil immigration proceedings at any Anne Arundel County correctional facility.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill 5516 as amended.
An ordinance concerning zoning plan unit developments in commercial districts in the BWI Fort Meade growth area.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Marzick, anything else to say on this? I know we've had the hearing already. We amended it, and it's back for final
No,
vote
sir.
tonight.
We would ask the council for their support of Bill 5516. We'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any remaining.
Very good. Any questions for the administration?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Trumbauer?
No question, but just since this is District 1 and Mr. Smith is not here tonight, I recall last meeting asking if he was supportive, and he said that he was, so I just wanted to make sure before we voted that I got that on the record.
And he's a co-sponsor as well.
Very, very good, but just want to reiterate that since he's not here to speak for himself.
Very good. Seeing no discussion, we'll go ahead and open up public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on 5516? Ms. Johnson?
Julie Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. There are a lot of people who are really concerned about the rapid growth and development in North County, the high density, traffic congestion, burdens on infrastructure. And so I will admit I really am not as well versed in the details of this bill as I ought to be, but I would hope that you would really look, very closely at the deterioration of the quality of life where people are stuck in traffic for prolonged periods of time. When you look at the burden, the financial burdens of taxes to impose on the local residents in order to support the development, the construction of additional infrastructure, of roads, sewers, and so on. And so I know that there are people who are just really upset about what they view as the excessive development and the high-density character of that development of the county in general, but especially in the vicinity, in the part of the county where this bill applies. So in general, I know that there are people who are opposed to this. I don't know how much testimony you've had from those people, but I do hope that you would consider their issues and their concern and the quality of their life before you vote on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I forgot that. She reminded me.
Thank God.
Harry Sinclair.
Mr. Sinclair.
1170 Jeffrey Drive, Crofton, Maryland. Yeah, it's really getting to be outrageous in West County. 175 has been, one of the reasons I came back from Virginia, I thought all that stuff would be done, okay? But I'm leaving again because it's just sitting there. It's absolutely, it's incredible that the equipment just sits there on 175 and they haven't widened the road yet. They put a running track out on where the road is instead of behind the fence, which doesn't even come close to passing the common sense test. So the runners have to come out the gate, run around, and then they got to check back in the gate. And then they're going to be running out on the road rather than behind the fence. But yeah, 170 is a disaster. It was supposed to have been a 4-lane road. Like I said, 175 now, as I understand, is it 193 or something, whatever the road is that goes from Fort Meade to Laurel, 198, I guess it is. That's been done, and so that helps. The 295 and 175, that's just sitting there. The only, what they did out there was the Mills Boulevard, okay, which is a real asset to that area. But again, it's the infrastructure, and it's a real goat rope out there when the train lets out and when the people try to get to the parking lot in the mornings, and they have failed to do the TOD up there, which was about 4 or 5 years ago. And they're still dragging their feet on that. And you've got the Odin Town Center. Like I said, it's a shame, but I'm not going to have to deal with it. All of you are going to have to deal with it.
Thank you, Mr. St. Clair. All right, the public hearing is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of 5516.
An ordinance concerning zoning plan unit developments in commercial districts in the BWI Fort Meade growth area.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Perutka? Aye. Mr. Trumbauer?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Grasso?
Aye.
Mr. Pruski?
Aye.
Mr. Fink?
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill 5516 is passed.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll. I'm sorry. Please read the title of 5216.
Bill 6016. Right?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
fine.
An ordinance concerning towing companies, rotation lists, and response times.
Mr. Grasso.
I don't think I can possibly say any more or do anything else less than this bill. I think we've pretty much met in the middle of the road with everybody, and I'm happy with the bill. So.
Very good. Mr. Marzick, anything to add to that?
No, sir, we support the bill.
Very good. Any discussion? Anyone here wishing to speak on this bill? Seeing no movement, the public hearing is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title again of 6016.
An ordinance concerning towing companies, rotation lists, and response times.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Perutka? Aye. Mr. Trumbauer?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Grasso?
Aye.
Mr. Pruski?
Aye.
Mr. Fink?
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill 6016 as amended is passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution
A
5216.
resolution appointing a member to the Anne Arundel County Adult Public Guardianship Review Board.
Mr. Marzick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Bernie Marzick in the County Executive's Office. Resolution 5216 offers Dr. Donna F. Parker for your confirmation to the Adult Guardianship Review Board in a position that requires a medical doctor. Dr. Parker is a board-certified solo practitioner and an attending physician with numerous area hospitals, including Johns Hopkins, Anne Arundel Medical Center, St. Agnes, and Union Memorial. You should have a resume before you.
We do. Any discussion? All right. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this resolution? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Peroutka? Aye. Mr. Trumbauer?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Grasso?
Aye.
Mr. Pruski?
Aye.
Mr. Fink?
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution 5216 is passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title 5316.
Resolution confirming an appointment to the Board of Trustees for the Anne Arundel County Retiree Health Benefits Trust.
Mr. Marzick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Bernie Marzick in the County Executive's Office. Resolution 5316 offers Timothy J. Kingston for your confirmation to the County Retiree Health Benefits Trust. Mr. Kingston is in the classified service and was nominated by a majority of the presidents of the non-uniformed public safety unions. Mr. Kingston has been a zoning enforcement officer with the county since 2006, and you should have his resume before you all.
Very good. Any questions? Go ahead and open up a public hearing. Anyone here wishing to speak on 5316? Seeing no movement, public hearing is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title.
Resolution confirming an appointment to the Board of Trustees for the Anne Arundel County Retiree Health Benefits Trust.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Peroutka?
Aye.
Mr. Trumbauer?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Grasso?
Aye.
Mr. Pruski?
Aye.
Mr. Fink?
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution 5316 is passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of 5816.
Resolution urging the appointment of new members to the Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners at the conclusion of the current terms of the existing members.
Mr. Grasso.
Yes, as everyone knows, I've been around the Beltway a few times on this, and we want to thank the current members that have done their job as the liquor board commissioners. When I'm asking the governor to appoint new people to give the public or other people the opportunity to serve, I don't think it should be under 3 people for year after year after year. And I think it's only fair just to let other people have the opportunity to serve the people of Anne Arundel County. So I would hope that the council would support this.
Any discussion? Go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anyone here wishing to speak on Resolution 5816? Seeing no movement, public hearing is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title.
Resolution urging the appointment of new members to the Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners.
Please call the roll.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Trumbauer.
before we vote, may I have a question?
Sure.
Is that in order, Ms. Tate? Yes? Mr. Grasso, I'm sorry. You've had so many liquor board bills, I can't keep them track in my mind. This body passed a resolution at the last meeting that spoke to the number of appointees. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So this is different than that in that it asked the current members to be dismissed and new members. Completely separate.
Completely different. They run their term out to the end of March, and I've spoke to the governor and staff, and I've asked for just new people. It's only fair that new people should have the right to serve. Someone being in there for 25 years, I think, is ridiculous. If you remember in the prior council, which you were part of, same thing with our Board of Appeals.
Sure.
There was people in there for a countless amount of years, and I just think it's unfair that people stay in there and not let other people serve, have their chance to serve. So we all voted 7-0 to put term limits on our Board of Appeals, and asking the governor to do the same with the commissioners.
All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Peroutka?
Aye.
Mr. Trumbauer?
No.
Did you say no?
I said no.
Okay. Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Grasso?
Aye.
Mr. Pruski?
No.
Mr. Fink?
Aye.
4 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. Resolution 5816 is passed.
All right, Madam Secretary. Thank you. Is there any other business to be brought before the county council?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. County council is adjourned until October 4th, 2016.